vision for society and its corrupt practices worldwide. We talked today about these shared concerns and as well as the concerns about technology, infrastructure and technology and the 5G infrastructure network. We've been clear. Our ask is that our allies and our partners and our friends don't do anything that would endanger our shared security interests or restrict our ability to share sensitive information. Friends speak to each other quite honestly, and we had the opportunity to do that today. We're not afraid of a little competition from China. I know the people of the Netherlands aren't either. We want to compete on a free, fair, open, reciprocal basis. And I know if we do that, both the Netherlands and the United States will continue to be successful economic countries. The great thing about and the reason that we're doing this entrepreneurship summit together is our two nations share a healthy culture of entrepreneurship, and it's those ideas that bring many from around the world here today. This is the 9th such summit. We have more than 1,000 entrepreneurs and investors here, policymakers from over 120 countries. And I want to thank Foreign Minister Balac and the Dutch government for the resources you have committed to this effort. It wasn't easy to take on, but it has been successful. I know it will be even further. It's a testament to the strong partnership between our two countries. Thank you.
Now there's room for 4 questions, 2 for the Dutch press, 2 for the international press. We'll start off with the Dutch press. Hanneke Kultjes, Algemeen Dagblad.
Question for both Secretary Pumppëo and Minister Balac. At the GES, entrepreneurs are hoping to meet future investors, but at the same time, they are probably concerned about the impact of U.S. policy on international trade. Could you reflect on that?
Sure, you want to go first? I'm happy to go first. They shouldn't be concerned at all about U.S. policy on international trade. We want fair, reciprocal trade, no tariff barriers, no non-tariff barriers, low-cost, free capital movement all across the world. We're looking for the most wide-open, entrepreneurial, rules-based system that trade can possibly engender. Those are the kind of things I think the people of Netherlands should be excited about. I think that's why we've had such a great turnout for this entrepreneurial summit here today.
Well, both our countries thank their prosperity to being open free market economies. And as I just mentioned, the US is the largest investor in the Netherlands. We are the 5th largest in the US, creating over 800,000 jobs. So we don't have to convince each other about the importance of free trade. Of course, I'm well aware of the debate that is going on. And the European Union is, of course, negotiating on behalf of the Netherlands with our full support, with the aim of, in the end, reducing tariffs. It's in the interest of nobody having tariffs that make trade more difficult or more expensive.
Ed Wong, New York Times.
Hi. Thank you both for taking questions. I would like to follow up on Secretary Pumppëo's mention of China and this question. I have a couple questions. The first one's for both of you. Many of the companies at the summit and other Western firms are eager to be within the business of China. What policies are your governments considering, if any, to try to mitigate the compromises that these companies might be pressured to make in relation to Western values, free speech, human rights, or national security issues as they engage with the China market and the Chinese government? And how concerned are you about these issues? Then one question for each of you related to China. Secretary Pumppëo, for many months now you've spoken forcefully on a new human rights issue, the detention of Muslims in the Xinjiang region. When will the Trump administration take action using the tools of targeted sanctions on Chinese officials or entity listings of Chinese companies on this issue? And Minister Balac, what specific discussions are your government officials having among themselves and with the United States on 5G communications technology and the role of Huawei?
So, Ed, thanks. Your first question, yeah, we're very concerned that Western companies, American companies and others, when they enter the Chinese market, aren't treated the same way that Chinese companies are treated when they enter those Western markets. And then in some cases, they're required to compromise, forced technology transfer, or worse. This is precisely what President Trump has been trying to negotiate with the government of China, trying to reduce that risk dramatically by ensuring that we had a shared set of rules, a common understanding about what that investment ought to look like, and allowing Chinese companies to invest in America only on the same terms that American companies have the opportunity to invest in China, without the risk that their intellectual property would be expropriated, or that they would have to have a partner that had access to some of the information and technology that they had inside of their company. We're concerned about it, and that's what we're trying to work with the Chinese government to eliminate. It's been going on for an awfully long time, and this administration is the first that has taken this threat seriously and efforted to try and fix it. Your second question is about the humanitarian situation in Xinjiang. I don't get ahead of any decision with respect to sanctions or how we're going to approach it. We've talked with the Chinese government. We've spoken publicly about the humanitarian violations that are taking place, that we will continue to do that, and we will continue to evaluate the appropriateness of taking other actions connected to that with the singular mission set to improve human rights inside of China, to protect these individuals from what's taking place there today.
With regard to your first question, I recently published a policy paper on the Dutch-China policy, where we describe actually the very broad relationship we have, ranging from indeed trade and investment to also cooperation in the field of fighting climate change, and for instance cooperating within the United Nations, where China is an important contributor to peacekeeping operations. So in this strategy paper, we describe that we like to engage and cooperate wherever possible, but also to be clear and outspoken on areas of concern, like human rights, situation of Uyghurs, Christian minorities, and also about the security concerns. Our security services have been clear about attempts for industrial espionage, cyber actions. So security is an important part of our China policy. And with regard to the upcoming 5G auction, of course, we share our worries with the US and other countries. And as you probably know, there is a specialist committee working now to decide on what criteria to add to the 5G auction. And somewhere this summer, those criteria will be published.
Second question for the Dutch press, Eva Wiese, NOS.
Thank you. You identified concerns about China, about Russia, but the Netherlands is a really open economy and we do business with China and with Russia. How can the GS help to improve this open relationship, this open trade? And did you have some specific conversation now about how could you engage in that?
Well, is that directed to me?
Yes.
Yes. The United States is a very open economy too. We have connections to Chinese businesses and Russian businesses, long held. We brook no ill will towards those economies growing. Indeed, we're more than fine with them growing, but it has to be on a fair, reciprocal, open basis. It has to be engaged in a way that's consistent with where those nations sit and the trade rules that are established. It's not open trade when one country can invest in another on a basis that is fundamentally different. It's not open trade when country can come invest here in the Netherlands, but if a Netherlands company wants to invest in their country, they've got to submit their data to the Chinese Communist Party and hand over that information in ways that put real risk on that business and the protection of that business's intellectual property. And so we hope this summit will create real opportunities for all the folks who have come here today, mostly companies that are looking to grow, a lot of truly global international players, but smaller, medium businesses as well, medium-sized businesses as well. We hope they'll find real opportunities, but it is imperative the government take actions to ensure that those markets are open to them so that we can sell American agricultural products into those places, so that we can sell American goods on terms that are fair and equal, reciprocal. Those are fundamental rules of how trade and international markets must work, and we're determined to achieve that.
Aren't you afraid that this could escalate all these trade extra barriers?
We're afraid that this unfair trade practice has been going on for decades, and no one resolved to fix it. And President Trump is resolved to fix it. I've heard folks talk about a trade war that's been engaged in. If you look at the rules of trade between the United States and China over the past decades, the Chinese had a very unfair set of rules, and they've been after American markets in ways that are deeply inequitable. And their government is involved in their businesses in ways that American companies never will be and shouldn't be. We're simply trying to level this playing field. And when we do that, I'm confident that both nations will be successful and grow.
And then the last question for the international press.
Thank you. To both of you, do you share President Trump's view that the UK should leave the EU without a deal and without paying the divorce bill? And Secretary Pompeo, aren't you concerned that in case of a no-deal Brexit, London might end up striking deals, trade deals that could present a risk, a security risk to the Western allies? And Mr. Block, do you find President Trump's comments on Brexit helpful for this complex European negotiation?
Well, you're presently sitting in the Johan de Witt house. Johan de Witt was the strategist behind the first Dutch-English war, which consisted on a very successful raid on the English fleet that was moored on the River Medway. So it's a very fitful place to ask this question. In spite of 4 Dutch-English wars, we still don't agree about who has won how many of them. The UK is one of our closest allies and has since those wars always been this. And we very much value our cooperation within Europe, within NATO. And we very much regret to see them go. It's a divorce we didn't ask for. And of course we respect the outcome of their referendum, but we would rather not see them go. We're also one of their largest trading partners, and the port of Rotterdam is the main point of entry from Europe to the UK, from the UK to Europe. So now the outcome of this referendum is there. Our aim is to negotiate a withdrawal agreement and a political agreement laying the basis for our future relationship. We are still very much engaged in an outcome involving both those agreements. And a hard Brexit, I'm convinced, will be negative for both the Netherlands as a large trading partner, but also for the UK itself.
For Mr. Block, you all fought Britain several times. We only fought them once. I believe we're 1-0. The sovereign nation of the United Kingdom will make its decision. Britain will make its decision. The people voted. They voted to leave, and we will leave to them to decide the terms, the timing, and the sequence for that.
Thank you very much for your time today. Very final handshake, gentlemen.
Thank you.
We will.